Ladies and gentlemen, this game is between Donald Bryan and Bobby "Oh No My Queen" Fischer, played in 1956. Donald starts off with knight f3, knight f6, c4, g6. This is the English opening. King's Indian formation. Here Bobby plans to carry his bishop and castle to the king's side. Knight c3, bishop g7. Donald plays d4 and establishes a nice little pawn center, controlling central squares. We've got castles, bishop to f4. Bobby then immediately strikes in the center with d5 in order to damage his opponent's nice little pawn structure. Donald responds with queen to b3. We've got takes and takes. Pro tip here from Bobby: if your opponent's king is in the center, it is generally a good idea to open the center for more attacking chances. Then we got c6. What does this do? Two things. First, controlling the c3 knight's forward squares, and it also opens developing squares for the king. Got e4, knight to d7, rook d1, and knight to b6 with tempo on the queen. Queen to c5, bishop g4, and here, ladies and gentlemen, we get our first blunder from Donald. Here the engine wants to play knight to a4 with tempo on the queen, and then exchanging the knights, and in doing so, you remove the defender of the e4 pawn. Bobby finds knight to a4, queen a3, captures and captures. Now that the knights are exchanged, Bobby takes on e4. Although his e7 pawn now has two attackers and only one defender, he found it important to open the center by attacking on e4 with his knight. Here Donald takes on e7, but makes a mistake because again the center is actually being opened by him. Taking on e7, the engine wanted him to retreat his bishop to e3 to sort of clog up the center. Queen to b6, bishop to c4, getting ready to castle. But Bobby finds the best move for black, which is taking on c3, hitting the rook. You might wonder, isn't this actually hanging the knight? Well, if the queen captures it, then you've got rook to e8 coming, pinning the bishop to the king. Then after castling, you just simply bring your rook to the middle and stacking them up on the e file. So going back, Donald actually find the best move, which is bishop to c4. Here my immediate move would be something like, retreating the queen to a safer square. But Bobby first checks with rook f to e8. What does this move do? Two things. One, essentially pushing the king to the side, and two, the h1 rook then has some difficulty to join the game. We've got king to f1, bishop e6, and here's where Bobby says, "Oh no, my queen." Donald takes the queen, but this is actually a blunder because when you take the white bishop with check, the king needs to move. Then you pick up the pawn, and at the end of the line, you pick up the bishop as well. So we get take with check, king has to move to g1, knight e2 check, king f1, knight takes on d4 with a discovery check, g1, and again knight e2 check, and knight c3 discovery check. So the bishop is nicely defending the knight. We've got king to g1 and taking the bishop at the end of the line, like we said, with a discovery on the queen. Queen to b4, and Bobby then attacks the queen with the rook to a4. Also note how everything is nicely defended on Bobby's side, while the d1 rook is hanging at the same time. So queen takes on b6, knight takes on d1, picking up the rook. We've got h3, then we've got a rook capturing the pawn on a2, king to h2, just making some space for the a rook to join. Knight takes on f2, collecting the pawn with tempo on the rook. Here, Donald proposes a rook trade. As his rook is not doing anything, by the way, for information, one should know that the knight will be on a bad square after the trade. But anyway, we've got takes, and Donald first plays the immediate check. The check is blocked with a bishop, and then recaptures the rook. Got bishop d5, knight f3, knight e4, queen b8 attacking the pawn. Bobby then pushes the pawn, which was attacked by the queen. h4, h5. Here, Bobby gets out of the pin and freeing up his dark squared bishop. King to g1, and now we have bishop c5 check. According to the engine, king h2 was the best move, but Donald plays king f1, which is a mistake because it's mate in 5. The engine wanted king h2, which goes like this. But this is actually also mate in 8. Got knight to d2, capturing the knight as the pawn is pinned to the king, so cannot recapture. King g3, bishop f2 check. King h3, e6 check. And we've got the pawn blocking, but you just capture it with check. King g2 taking on h4 with a discovery check on the king. Then we've got h1, rook a1 check coming, and rook g1 mate. So that's the line that the engine wanted. But yeah, so Bobby continues with knight g3 check. The king only has one square, e1. Then we've got check again, and the king is forced to d1. Check with mate in 3. King goes to c1. The knight joins the party. The king only has one move, b1. And the knight c3 check, leaving the king with one square, c1. And Bobby gives a beautiful mate with the rook. Now all the pieces are working in harmony, while the queen is in no man's land. So yeah, not coordinated to say the least. Hope you guys enjoy the game, and thanks so much for watching.